Mommy, wake up. Wake up. I felt a small hand shaking me gently, urgency lacing my daughter's voice. Blinking away sleep, I turned to her, immediately noticing the worry on her little face. Sarah, what's wrong? I asked, rubbing my eyes. She hesitated for a moment, then spoke with surprising seriousness. Mommy, I think you shouldn't be with Daddy anymore. Her words jolted me fully awake. I stared at her, my heart pounding. What do you mean? I asked, struggling to process what she was saying. Sarah took a deep breath, her tiny face set with determination. As she explained her thoughts, I listened, at first shocked, but gradually realizing she had a point. My name is Emma Simpson. I'm 34 years old, a full-time working mom. I sell insurance for a large company, balancing my career with raising my daughter. It's not easy, especially since I handle daycare drop-offs and pickups on top of my packed work schedule. My days run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but my responsibilities never really end. I've been in this job for over a decade, long before I got married. Over the years, I've worked hard to establish myself. Even now, with a family to care for, I can't afford to slow down. Why do I push myself so much? For Sarah. She's 5 years old, bright, thoughtful, and mature beyond her years. My husband and I want to give her every opportunity, but in today's world, everything comes with a price tag. I work hard not just for the present but for the future, making sure we're financially secure, no matter what happens. Some people might say, why stress? Doesn't your husband make enough? Well, not exactly. Keith's job is unstable. His company has been struggling, and his salary has shrunk over time. Right now, he earns only about a third of what I do. Relying on his income alone? Not an option. Then, just the other night, he came to me, looking uneasy. Emma, can I borrow some money? I sighed, already knowing where this was going. For what? I haven't even gotten my paycheck yet. I promise I'll pay you back next month, he said quickly. I had a few drinking parties, some other expenses. I'm short on cash. I stared at him, disbelief creeping in. Wait, you spent your entire salary? Again? I'm sorry, he mumbled. I just couldn't say no. This was becoming a pattern. Lately, Keith had been avoiding his share of the household expenses, always coming up with reasons why he needed money. Sometimes it was for social outings, other times to help his parents. Whether or not those were the real reasons, I wasn't sure anymore. What I did know was that he had started leaning on me financially, and I was getting tired of it. What would he do if I refused? I remembered a past conversation where he admitted he was terrible at saving. His bank account was nearly empty. If I didn't lend him money, he'd have to borrow it from somewhere else, maybe even fall into debt. And for Sarah's sake, I didn't want that. I sighed. Fine. How about $200? Relief washed over his face. You're a lifesaver, Emma. I promise I'll pay you back next month. You always say that, I pointed out. But you never actually do you? He flinched. Well. I mean. I will this time. And I'll stop going to drinking parties. You better, I said firmly. Our priority is Sarah. I know, he muttered. Did he really understand, though? I wasn't so sure anymore. Doubt gnawed at me, leaving me frustrated and exhausted. Despite everything, Keith was a good father. That was one thing I couldn't deny. He adored Sarah and made time for her, especially on weekends. One morning, he surprised me with an offer. Emma, why don't you take a break today? I'll take care of Sarah. I raised an eyebrow. But I have a ton of things to do. Don't worry about it. We'll order lunch, and I'll help tidy up later. Just take some time for yourself, he insisted. Sarah, still half asleep, stretched and gave me a sleepy smile. Can you wait, Sarah? It'll just be you and Daddy today, I told her. She rubbed her eyes and nodded. That's okay, Mommy. I hesitated, then finally gave in. All right, maybe I'll go shopping for a bit. Yay. But don't forget to bring me something too. Sarah grinned. I laughed. I'll get your favorite bread. Yay! Thank you, Mommy, she cheered, her face lighting up. Even though Sarah was only 5, she was remarkably well behaved. Of course, I wouldn't leave her alone at home, but I still had my concerns. Just in case, I slipped a note with my phone number into her bag, reminding her, call me if anything happens. Everything will be okay. That day, I wandered the mall alone for the first time in ages. But even as I browsed the department store, nothing caught my eye. Instead of picking something for myself, I ended up buying clothes for Sarah and her favorite chocolate croissant. When I got home, Sarah ran to the door with a huge smile. Mommy! You're back. Did you have fun? I laughed, scooping her into a hug. I did. And I brought you a surprise. I handed Sarah the treats, watching her eyes light up with excitement. Wow! A chocolate croissant and new clothes? Can we have the croissant for breakfast tomorrow? She asked eagerly. Then, after a brief pause, she looked around. Wait, where's Daddy? He's on the balcony, talking on the phone, I replied. Talking on the phone? She echoed, frowning. Who's he talking to? Curious, I glanced out onto the balcony. Sure enough, Keith was leaning against the railing, chatting away while smoking. He looked completely at ease, too at ease. I tapped on the window. The moment he saw me, his expression shifted, and he hastily ended the call. You're back already? He said, forcing a smile. Yeah. Who were you talking to? Oh, just work stuff, he answered casually. I sighed, glancing at Sarah. You left her alone inside? Keith rubbed the back of his neck. It was a sudden call. I'm sorry, Sarah. Sarah's face fell. Mommy, did you know? Daddy said he'd play with me today, but he was on the phone a lot. Really? I asked, my frustration growing. Yeah. And he promised we'd read a book together, she added, looking disappointed. I turned back to Keith, who now looked guilty. That night, we had dinner as usual. Afterward, I gave Sarah her bath, lingering with her longer than normal. Guilt weighed on me for leaving her earlier, so I wanted to make up for it. Once she was asleep, I sat down with Keith for a serious conversation. Keith, are you really that busy? I asked. Even on weekends, you're always on the phone. He sighed. Work has been crazy. I've been doing a lot of overtime. When I come home late, it's because of work, not drinking. It's work, but even so, can you try to balance things better? Sarah was really lonely today. She needs you too, I said firmly. I know, he mumbled. I sighed, feeling like I was talking to a wall. From now on, if you're going to be too busy to spend time with her, just let me know. I'll take Sarah with me when I go out. Keith nodded. Got it. Then, without another word, he grabbed his phone and headed to the bedroom. For the past 6 months, Sarah and I had been sleeping together more often, while Keith slept alone. He never complained, but I couldn't help feeling a pang of loneliness. Then, one night. Mommy, wake up. I jolted awake, heart pounding. It was 2 a.m. The house was quiet, Keith presumably asleep in the other room. I sat up, blinking at Sarah, who was standing by my bedside, her small hands clutching the blanket. Sarah? What's wrong? I whispered. Her voice was serious. Mommy, I have a request. A request? What is it? She hesitated, then looked me straight in the eyes. I want you to break up with Daddy. I froze. What? Sarah's words cut through the silence like a blade, slicing through the last remnants of sleep. You want me to break up with Daddy? I repeated, as if saying it aloud would make it less shocking. She nodded, her expression unwavering. Why would you say something like that? I asked carefully. Sarah's lips trembled, and for the first time, I noticed the fear in her eyes. Because, Mommy, if things stay like this, you're in danger. A chill ran down my spine. Danger? What do you mean? I'm fine, sweetheart. No, you're not, she insisted. Daddy, he wants to hurt you. My stomach twisted. Sarah, what are you talking about? Tears welled up in her eyes. Earlier, when I got up to go to the bathroom, I heard Daddy talking on the phone. I swallowed hard. What did he say? She sniffled, wiping her eyes. He said, it would be good if something happened to you, Mommy. So we could get the insurance money. My blood turned to ice. What's insurance money? She asked innocently. I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up. Keith, had he really said that? Had he really been talking about getting rid of me? My hands clenched the blanket as I tried to steady my breathing. That's not all, Sarah whispered. Daddy said I love you on the phone, but not to you. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing myself to stay calm. Don't worry, Sarah, I said softly, pulling her into a hug. I'll make sure everything's okay. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, but I held them back. My daughter, so young, yet so perceptive, had been carrying this fear alone. I felt a rush of emotions, gratitude for her honesty, anger at Keith's betrayal, and resolve to protect us both. I looked into Sarah's eyes. Sarah, listen carefully, I said gently. If what you heard is true, we can't stay here anymore. We need to leave. She nodded immediately. I want to stay with you, Mommy. Are you sure? Yes. I don't want to be with Daddy anymore, she whispered. I kissed her forehead, my decision made. Okay. Let's go. I instructed her to gather her things quietly. Sarah, careful not to make a sound, began packing her backpack. I did the same, stuffing only the essentials into a small bag. My heart pounded with every movement, but there was no turning back. This wasn't just about leaving Keith anymore. This was about survival. I hadn't realized how mature and responsible Sarah had become. Seeing her courage, I knew it was time for me to be strong too. Leaving my wedding ring on the living room table, I took one last look around the house, the place where I had once built a life with Keith. It no longer felt like home. Taking Sarah's hand, I stepped out. We left together. The sky was still dark when we arrived at my parents' house. The clock read 5 a.m. as I rang the doorbell. A few moments later, my mother, looking sleepy and surprised, answered the door. Emma? And Sarah too? What's going on? I'm sorry for coming so early, Mom. Can we stay here for a while? My mother's expression softened. Of course, dear, but what happened? She ushered us inside, leading Sarah to a bedroom where she could rest. Sarah, exhausted from the night's events, quickly drifted off. In the living room, my mother placed a warm cup of tea in front of me. I wrapped my hands around it, gathering my thoughts. It seems Keith is planning something, involving me, I finally said, possibly an accident. Silence filled the room. My father, his face tightening, spoke carefully. Emma, what do you mean? Sarah overheard him talking on the phone. I explained. He told someone he loved her. I think he's having an affair. My father frowned. Are you sure? Sarah only overheard part of a conversation. That's not solid proof. I took a deep breath. I brought Keith's tablet. If we check it, we might find answers. I pulled it from my bag and turned it on. To my surprise, it wasn't even locked. My hands trembled slightly as I navigated through his messages. Then, I found it. A string of emails, messages between Keith and a woman I didn't recognize. And one email stood out. This. My mother pointed at the screen, her voice unsteady. This is a detailed plan. He was planning to stage an accident. The words blurred for a moment as my mind tried to process them. I quickly snapped photos of the emails, solid evidence. I also printed them out for future use. Then, my phone buzzed inside my bag. The name flashing on the screen made my stomach churn. Keith. I exhaled slowly and answered, putting it on speaker. Hello? Emma, where are you? Keith's voice came through, laced with fake concern. I woke up and you were gone. I was worried. My grip on the phone tightened. Is that all you have to say? What do you mean? I am worried about you and Sarah. I clenched my jaw. Are you worried about us, or about the fact that I know what you've been planning? Silence. Then, what? His voice wavered. You were going to stage an accident, weren't you? I pressed. You wanted the insurance payout. That's ridiculous, Keith snapped. Where is this coming from? I didn't give him a chance to control the conversation. You thought you were being careful, didn't you? Calling your mistress while I was asleep, but you made a mistake. Keith, you forgot one thing. Sarah is my strongest ally. Right on cue, Sarah's voice chimed in. I heard it myself. Daddy, you wanted to hurt Mommy. Keith's breath hitched. That's not true. It can't be. What can't be true? I shot back. That you were planning something? That you wanted the money? That you told another woman you loved her? His protests turned feeble. Why would she say that? That was it. He wasn't denying it. He was panicking. I exhaled sharply, feeling the last traces of doubt evaporate. I never thought you could stoop this low, I said coldly, but I see you for who you really are now. So here's what's going to happen. I will raise Sarah without you. You can go live your life with your mistress. I never want to see you again. And Keith? He didn't respond. I will never forgive you. And with that, I ended the call. I set the phone down, my hands still shaking, not with fear, but with anger. It was over. Mommy, are you okay? I turned to see Sarah standing in the doorway, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Sarah. I felt a pang of guilt. I'm sorry, did I wake you? She shook her head. No. But what happened with Daddy? I crouched down to her level, brushing a strand of hair from her face. It's okay now, I assured her. You don't have to worry anymore. She looked up at me, hesitating. Really? Are we safe now? Can we always be together? I felt a lump in my throat but nodded firmly. Yes, always. She threw her arms around me, holding on tightly. And I held her just as tightly in return. In the days that followed, I filed for divorce. Through my lawyer, I secured full custody of Sarah and ensured Keith would pay child support, though his actions could have warranted legal consequences. I chose not to pursue criminal charges, for Sarah's sake. I didn't want to drag us through an endless battle. Instead, I focused on moving forward. Keith, on the other hand, lost everything. His mistress abandoned him, his parents disowned him, and now, he struggles to keep up with child support while trying to pick up the pieces of his ruined life. But none of that concerns me anymore. Sarah and I have started fresh in a new home. She adjusted quickly to her new nursery school, and I can see the light returning to her eyes. There will still be challenges ahead, but I know, no matter what, with Sarah by my side, we can face anything. She is my absolute partner. And together, we will build a future filled with love and safety.